We're back again on Beer Culture. And we're episode, I don't know, I don't count.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Do you count?
No.
You know, I thought about counting one time, and I'm not good with numbers like that. So I don't want to try and keep up, you know what I mean? I'll take my shoes off, like, what number are we on? Who cares? Today we're here with a beer blogger, the Beer Goddess. Cheers. Welcome to live camera.
Thanks.
And we're enjoying a beverage that you brought us, right?
Indeed.
And this is from Odell Brewing.
Ooh.
Justin, want to tell us a little bit about it?
Odell's out of Fort Collins, Colorado.
And that is a sour.
It is a sour. It
Feel
is.
it on the back of your mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, it's called Freak, I believe it is. It's 6.5%, and it's definitely sour.
It's really
It's
good.
a little freaky.
Sour.
It's a little freaky. Right before we got on camera, you guys were talking about that. You know, for me, sours just make me think of Sweet Tarts and Smarties, you know, and I love that kind of candy, but I've never gotten into that kind of beer. So I'm really glad you brought that today, because we keep talking back and forth about that, about venturing into sours. The shocker to me today, and Justin pointed out, that most sours are not up, high in the ABV. One of our early episodes, we talked about the misconception of IPAs. When you get into new drinkers, they immediately think, when you say IPA, they're like, oh, that's just going to beat me up. It's like, well, no, not necessarily. It really depends on the beer.
Absolutely.
For me to find that out about sours makes me a little more brave and ready to be courageous and go out there and try more sours.
Yeah. No, there are some that are, 8-9%, but then there are some like this one that are only 6.5. So it totally depends on the brewery and what they're brewing and what they brew with. And
I get more of the raspberry than the cherry.
yeah, and the oak, I think this one, Asian oak, really blends well with the fruit.
It's delicious. Thanks for bringing that, dude. I like it.
Thank you very
Came from
much.
Arizona.
Arizona, very good. Very good. But Odell's Brewing's on Arizona.
No. I bought it in Arizona.
So that beer, wait, where's Odell's? They're in
They're in
Fort Collins, Colorado.
Fort Collins, Colorado,
They just happen to distribute to Arizona,
but not to us.
but not to California.
What
even
is our
though-
deal in
Yeah.
California?
Yeah, I don't know.
How did it bypass us and get to Arizona?
I know Arizona gets bells. We don't get bells here.
Right.
I just don't understand.
I stocked up while I was there over
Nice.
the holidays.
Another true beer snob at heart, people. That's a beer snob, okay? They're not ready to admit it. Did I tell you we got called beer nerds?
Yeah, I think you did.
So somebody liked us. I should know his Facebook name right now so I can say it on camera. I'm sorry if I don't quote you directly, young man, but he's so excited about the show. He's like, I love the show. I'm watching all the time. It's so great to hear other beer nerds talking about beer. I was like, I'm so happy. Wait, he's calling me a nerd. I'm like, I don't know. You can't call me a nerd.
But it's beer nerd better than.
I grew up on the Fonz. I'm a little insulted. I'm like, hey, you can't call me a nerd.
Well, a beer geek is one thing. Beer nerd. I mean, there's a difference between nerds and geeks.
No, I'm a snob.
I wasn't asking what you were.
Okay.
I'm telling
But
you.
I'm a snob. I have to chime in. That's what makes me a beer snob, is I chime in. All right, go ahead. Otherwise, you lost your
I
point.
don't even know where I was going
I
with that.
know. There's
Nerd,
geeks.
nerd and geek. I understand the difference. I mean,
Yeah.
Going back to the movie Nerds.
Geeks are educated about what they enjoy. Nerds just stay in their mom's basement.
Pocket protectors.
Yeah, totally,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not beer nerds. No.
Yeah.
We're geeks and snobs. So let's talk a little bit about what you do, Aaron. Let's talk a little bit about the Beer Gods.
Well, it's so I'm one of many thousands of beer bloggers out there, but I started it about a little over 5 years ago in LA. I was in LA at the time, and just kind of it was funny how I got into it. I mean, like you, I started enjoying beer and getting into beer in, I think it was 95. Living in San Diego, going to San Diego State.
How could you not? Right?
Well, exactly.
How could you not? Wow.
And I loved cooking, and I wanted to go to culinary school in Europe, and I had dinner parties, and at the time I was doing wine with my dinner parties and wine with dinner, and I'm kind of a marketing whore, and so I would just pick whatever wine bottle had the coolest label, and I then morphed into what other beers are out there besides Budweiser, and I drank Keystone Light to start. I'm ashamed to say. But you know what? San Diego State, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's, party school. And, then I saw Stone, an arrogant bastard, which was why when you were talking about that, I was like, oh yeah. So I saw that label and I'm like, that's a cool name. I gotta try
very
this.
cool.
And so that's, I think Sam Adams was kind of my gateway beer, Boston Lager, Bass, and then, Stone. Basically, I went from, jumping up. And, and then from there, it was just, whatever I could get my hands on. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
And so you just launched a new page, right?
Yeah, so basically it's the same website, same web address, except the software's been updated and it's got a homebrew store now, selling all the homebrew equipment you could possibly want.
Yep, I was looking at the plate chiller on there.
Yep.
Because I'm a big fan of plate chillers when you're home brewing. I really have a lot of belief when you're a home brewer and you're trying to chill down, that wort, get it ready for yeast pitch. There's no easier or better or more efficient way, a quicker way to do it than a plate chiller. You have a very respectable price for that plate chiller. I think it's like a 10 plate chiller. When we brew with Sarge, we'll be using the old plate chiller I had. I think it might be a 15 or 20 plate chiller. It's a big old milk plate chiller.
Yeah.
But it works like a champ.
Yeah, and that's the goal. Is that all the prices are? I tried to bring them down about 15% than regular.
And you got your first shirt up there. You got like one shirt up there right now.
Yeah, getting there. I've actually got more designs designed, and we've got hoodies and with the logo on the hood, and kind of a bottle coming up on the side. It's just it's soft launch, so not everything is up there yet. But.
Well, we noticed when we were on the site that you didn't have any male models marking the clothes yet. So
getting
we're
there.
just saying, if you need us to go up there and wear the clothes and go on camera with some beer, we're known for working for beer. So
Let's do it.
I'm just saying, we will work for beer. So.
Probably drive away some business at the same time. But.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
I don't know. I think we're hot. We can pull it off. We're beer sexy. All right, so let's talk about some of the links you had on there because I was checking some of them out. What is New Brew Thursday?
Oh, there's some friends of mine out of LA, and they similar to you guys do a web show, and every Thursday they talk about new beers. And
very cool.
It's 3 guys, and they partner with Dr. Bill from Stone.
I saw
occasionally, and they're it's just they're kind of a casual talking about beer again, kind of similar to you guys, but and then it's a new brew every Thursday.
Now, is it a newly released beer or a new beer to them that they haven't had before?
It's just a new beer to them, I'm pretty sure. And they actually have a badge on Untapped as well.
Okay.
So
Yes, and I saw that. I told Michelle that. Like I was looking at their page today, and I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, it's just like an Untapped badge." I was like, "Oh my god, these guys got their own badge on Untapped.
Yeah, no,
they're cool.
They're great. They're actually
That's when we've made it.
They're
we have their own
celebrating
badge on Untapped.
They're celebrating, I think, their 4th anniversary next
Nice.
weekend.
Wow.
So
Yeah, they got some sponsorship. They're
Yep.
up there doing it. So
Yep.
we're probably going to reach out to them, I think,
Yeah.
and kind of get their advice on how to keep growing the show because we're having a lot of fun with it and we're getting some traction.
yeah.
And I know we're going to be partnering with you and trying
Absolutely.
to do something on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Our plan right now is to do out-of-state brews. That's one of the
Definitely.
things we like to do is out-of-state episodes.
Well, I have a section on my website called Beer Quest, where it's, I was at the time, interviewing those home beer clubs where you can purchase beers from, Charleston Beer Exchange, things like that. So that could be, an extension of Beer Quest. You're trying to find those beers that aren't available in your area.
Very cool.
So an exchange.
So I noticed you also have a section on there for women in brewing. And I saw you had Meg on there,
Yep.
Meg from Golden Road.
Right.
And you also had Laura Ulrich on there.
Yes.
And we just did her beer not too long ago,
Oh, okay.
which was the,
The vanilla
smoked,
bean.
the smoked vanilla bean
Yeah.
porter.
Yeah. No, she's awesome. She really knows her stuff and just
Yeah.
super passionate. I mean, everyone at Stone has so much experience. And,
Right. They've really been immersed into that culture and
Yep.
had chances to put a beer out there. But hers is one of the ones that,
It's
it went over the fence and it keeps going.
extremely
And they
popular.
keep growing it.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed it this year. This was really
Yeah.
Yeah.
beer. We had it up against a couple other beers, which is nice. We had it up against the Cassie's beer, which was a vanilla oatmeal stout.
Oh, okay.
And it really, rose above that one. But then, he busted out the Three Floyds after that and stole the show. It just,
They often do that.
it stole the show with its hoppy goodness. Because in the end, it's all about being hoppy. I'm sorry, it just.
Something I like about some breweries I've noticed lately is though they're letting a lot of the not necessarily the head brewers, but just the brewers and the employees that work there. They're letting them get involved in you know, putting out their own recipes and their own beers. I've seen it with Stone. There's another brewery, I don't remember what they were called, but they had actually a series, and every beer was named after, you know, whoever came up with that recipe and released it. But I think it's good to see the breweries getting the rest of the people there involved instead of just saying, here's our beer, you're gonna make it.
No, absolutely.
And we're gonna put it out as, you know, as our beer.
And like Stone does their homebrew competition every year, and then, you know, those homebrewers get to brew, you know, it becomes the beer at Stone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I mean, CVB, you know, we just did that at Hops and Hops. And so it's a huge trend, and I think that's just the culture, a testament to the culture of craft beer, which is collaboration.
Justin, tell us a little bit about what we're drinking right now, this amazing chocolate stout.
It's the Rogue Double Chocolate Stout, 9%. Rogue Ales out of Newport, Oregon.
Newport, Oregon?
Newport, Oregon.
There's another Newport?
There is.
So
Notice they left the beach off of that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you mocking me?
No.
That's just so weird when you hear that. You're like, Newport, Oregon? Okay.
Yeah, but it's I mean, it's one of my favorite chocolate stouts. I mean, it's got everything you want. It's the chocolate flavors is so.
And we've talked about that a few times, or you've brought it up a few times. You know, when you read a label on a beer, and somebody says this is a hoppy rye, this is a sunburst orange, whatever. You want that when you pick that beer up.
Yeah.
You know, especially when we read a coconut porter or a chocolate stout. You know, we want that needs to transfer in that beer. We need to get that out of that beer. That's a double chocolate stout.
You see the way this pours; it's just so thick. And,
That's definitely that's
beautiful.
It's like motor oil.
That's awesome. That's a great beer.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a lot of beers by Rogue.
You know, Rogue has a lot of good beers. They're I guess they're not really seasonal, but their limited release line is really good. They have the double chocolate stout. They have it used to be called Double Dead Guy, now it's called Excess Dead Guy. They have their Imperial Stout. They have their barley wine. They're all really good. The whiskey, the whiskeys and the spirits now.
We just had a little whiskey before this.
Yeah, you just had a little bit of whiskey.
Yeah, they've got whiskey. They got 2 different gins, 2 different rums. They now have vodka.
You know what they had at Total Wine that I saw somebody else picking up when me and Michelle were there, doing a little shopping for beer, is they have a traveling growler now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dead Guy Ale growler.
They do.
You can buy like right there, and then you go that and take it to another brewery to have it filled or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've
Gotta love the growler laws that are changing.
Yeah, definitely.
That bummed me out about our Total Wine. When we got our Total Wine, and I was so excited we were going to get a Total Wine, and then I went and read a little bit about the brand Total Wine. And you get outside California and go to the Total Wine. There's a growler station. Mm-hmm. You can walk in there and fill up beers. Like,
let me interrupt you there for a second because I'm in construction, and when I was bidding that Total Wine, there was a growler station where they do the beer tastings. It specifically said growler station on the plan.
And you had to be so excited.
And it had all the instructions about how to rinse the growlers and make sure everything was clean and all that kind of stuff. And then when they opened and there was no growler fill station, I was like, oh, come on, man. How can you not put a growler fill station in here?
Yeah, burn.
But
I think it's the county.
it's got to be something.
It's
weird
California
like
law,
that. Yeah. Because I mean, there are Whole Foods stores that have growler fill stations in them as well. And I mean, there's a Whole Foods getting ready to open up right across the street from Total Wine, and I'll bet you there's not going to be a growler fill station in there either.
I bet you're right. All right, so where were we? At the end of the last beer, we were talking about home brewing. Mm-hmm. One of the things we've done, Aaron with us from the Beer Goddess, is we've gone out and got a little support from More Beer. I know you work with them a little bit yourself on your site. And we went and got a well-respected home brewer, Ralph Sargent, that we were just with him on, I believe it was his birthday party. We were both over there.
Yeah.
Trying his sour and his stout.
His sour stout. That's good.
It's good stuff, right?
I actually judged that in the competition. It was
and
great.
It won an award, right?
Yep.
Super good, right?
It was
He
wonderful.
knows his business.
Yep.
So we sat with him the other night, Justin, him and I, and we went through. The plan was 3 IPAs. I think we went through about 5 or 6 beers easy. I know I left there pretty buzzed.
Yeah.
And we really kind of brought out what we wanted in an IPA. You know, we're really looking at, you know, a 20 SRM. We want that darker red hue. You know, it was just driving Ralph crazy building that recipe because he's like, it's so off style. I'm like, I don't care. Like, you know, as I'm drinking a India Brown from Dogfish Head, you know, unusual beers for unusual people. Like, that's what I want. Like, I don't want the typical pale ale IPA. I want that redder hue. And so we're going to brew a 10-gallon batch. I'll throw that out there now for the whole world to hear it. And it's going to be split into 2 5-gallons, exact same beer, and then each one's going to have different yeast.
Oh, okay.
And so we can get a variant, and then we'll bring all of us back together to try that beer.
Very cool.
Yeah, and that's one of the future plans for beer culture.
Okay.
And as we grow and start doing those brews, we're going to pull you in on one of those and maybe help design a recipe.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and we'll brew something crazy and you know, get it out there.
Very cool.
We'll be able to bring a group of people together to share that beer once it's all, you know, bottled up and ready to go.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's a delicious
Start
idea.
thinking of the recipe now.
I think it's an excellent idea.
I think the next one should be a crazy stout.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I love my stouts.
We can coincide with Stout Day.
That's right. So I think my wife was looking around and said you came up with that little idea, right?
I did. Yeah.
How's the following on that?
The following is great. The first year we managed to reach about 1 million people. Guinness heard about it, and I got a phone call out of the blue from Guinness at my home when I was living in Big Bear.
Wow.
And you know, then went out to Ireland. But last year it reached about 2 million people.
Nice.
I'm sorry, the year before it reached about 2 million. This past year I don't have the numbers yet, but I'm guessing it's around that, or it's growing.
It got to me. I drank stout on that day.
Right, yeah, me too.
And I had no idea you had anything to do with it until today when I was doing
really?
my research for this conversation. And my wife was like, no, she came up with Stout Day. I'm like, what?
I had no idea until just now.
You should just be wearing like a stout pendant of some kind. Like just a pendant with like dark beer in it or something. I don't know.
So
Some kind of goddess pendant wrapped in wire with like crystals and like beer.
You gonna make that for me?
She's crafty. She could do it. She knows jewelry and she can make that for
awesome.
you. I cannot. I can think of it, but
I'm
I
not
cannot
crafty
make it.
either. I mean, I'm crafty this way.
I'm
but,
crafty
yeah.
this way. I'll brew you a beer
Yeah.
and some other stuff, but I can't make jewelry. But she can.
But yeah, no, Stout Day is taken off, and it's great because it's just, you know, it's the idea is expanding the culture of, you know, this specific beer style, which I love. I mean, I love them all, but, you know, I wanted to focus on this one.
I think, to me, I think stout and porter are a couple of the most underappreciated styles. They really are, because they are very diversified. Just not everybody really gets that, how diversified stout and porter can be.
Well,
And they can be misunderstood too.
yeah, a lot of people, especially people that aren't into craft beer, have a common misconception about all dark beer is the same.
Right.
They don't understand that it could be, you know, it could be a really light stout like Guinness, or it could be just a porter, or it could be, you know, this crazy bourbon barrel aged, you know, imperial stout at almost 20% alcohol.
Right.
Or it could be a black IPA, or it could even be a really dark brown ale. But a lot of people just until they get into craft beer don't understand that not all dark beer is, you know, not the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty
And
good.
even, I mean, and for those, you know, it's the Guinness, for example, has fewer calories than
Yeah.
for those girls that care about that than say a
Those
Budweiser.
girls.
I
Those
don't,
crazy girls.
but you know, there are some. So
Well, it's awesome that you were able to take something you're very passionate about, which is, you know, obviously craft beer, and make an impact out of it in the craft beer world. Create something that's just a day where everybody gets a little buzz going and gets going. You told a story off camera, and I'm going to ask you to come back on camera now. I'll know you're back and share it. You know, it's a little emotional, but it's kind of how you came up with the concept for, how and why you came up with the concept for Beer Daughters.
yeah. So let's see. Back in 2008, I was living in Los Angeles, and my dad suddenly passed away. And about 2 weeks later, I got laid off my job, so it was, you know, kind of a crazy time, and it was not in a good place. And my boyfriend at the time, you know, said, "You know more about beer than anybody I know, and you're a good writer. You haven't been." He was just trying to cheer me up, honestly. And he's like, "Why don't you write about beer?" write about beer. Okay. I was like, well, I do like beer. So I just started researching, and I, was like, well, thebeergoddess.com is available, and he built me a website, and I just kind of ran with it because it was a passion of mine, and it was kind of keeping me a little sane, and I really did miss my dad, and I wanted to come up with a tagline, and the tagline that I wanted to kind of give it as a homage to him. His idol was Ben Franklin, and he named his company Franklin Telecom after Ben Franklin. So I thought, well, Ben Franklin has all these drinking quotes.
He totally does. Yeah.
So I kind of morphed one of his and changed it a little bit, made it positive, and so put beer in there instead of drinking. And so there is good living where there is good beer.
That's right. There's good living where there's good drinking.
Yeah, and his was there's not good living where there's not good drinking. So it's a homage to my dad, and that's where beer got started.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing it. I just want to say right now, I feel like I'm winning because I keep finishing my beer.
You
before
do.
all of you guys. I'm winning. I'm the winner.
Well, are you winning or are you losing? Because we still get to enjoy it.
I know.
Oh
You do.
man, now I'm losing.
So you get to sit there
Oh.
and just drink more.
How
of this
dare
beer.
you turn that around on
I
me,
still
sir?
have some.
For shame, sir. You turned that around and made me feel bad. My
that's
emotion.
good.
No, my emotions are hurting inside.
Do you wanna
Chocolatey,
Maybe. Not yet.
roasty.
It's so good though. It's so
Great
good.
with the Rogue cheese.
That's something my wife just brought up the other day, Michelle. That we should do like a cheese beer pairing.
I did that on the radio with Dan Dunn about 3 years ago. I was actually telling Justin off camera, and it was awesome. Interesting because when you're doing it on the radio, it's how do you seed and you
Yeah.
Here's the beauty of this. There was a heartbeat in that I was a deli manager at Sprouts, and I know the deli manager there now, the general manager of that store, and the Boar's Head representative. And I'm almost positive I can get my hands on a really awesome selection of like Boar's Head cheese and meats for a beer pairing.
Nice.
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
you should
I
do it.
Do it.
I did an article about it years ago, and I mean, beer and cheese actually, people always think of wine and cheese, but beer and cheese they're both farmhouse products. They're made to go together. You can't have, it's really hard to have a bad
Awesome.
pairing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I agree.
you do the strong with the strong, or you can do the strong with the weak. It's amazing.
You know what? I think we're going to finish this round. We're going to transition to something hoppy, I think, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I
leave
think
that
we'll
in mystery.
transition to whatever I pull out of the fridge. All right, kids, we're back. The beer culture. Right now we're drinking Warlock from Southern Tier Brewing Company out of Lakewood, New York. It is a pumpkin stout, 8.6%, and it's an interesting beer to say the least.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Third beer tonight, going all the way. The nose on that is just, I think Michelle over there nailed it. It's almost a little chai. To me, it almost is a little chai. I mean, the cafe I manage, I make a lot of chai drinks.
Spice.
It does. It has almost a chai nose to it. And this is from,
Southern Tier.
no, I mean, what's in the beer? Like there's a pumpkin.
Yeah, it's pretty much pumpkins and spices. I think there's the spices in there.
Pumpkin puree.
Yeah, pumpkin puree.
A lot
and,
of malts.
Yeah, black malt, caramel malt, Munich malt.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's almost a porter to me. You know how it's got that transparency.
Mhm.
You can get a little light body through there.
Yeah.
SRM. It's a little passage through there.
Yeah. This is a brand new beer too. It just came out 2013. Their pumpkin Imperial Pumpkin Ale is very popular as far as pumpkin beers go.
Mhm.
I mean, it's like drinking a pumpkin pie. It's really really good. And they
I love pumpkin pie.
So do I. So
I
do
love pumpkin pie.
I could eat a whole pie.
Absolutely. What I talked about was doing a pairing. And I have a couple of connections with Boar's Head. I'm pretty sure I could give a little support there. Some Boar's Head meats and cheeses. They do a couple of wraps. I don't know if you ever had them with some mozzarella cheese and like pepperoncinis and salamis, and they wrap that up and seal it, and then you slice it.
Sounds pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, we used to get them at one of the delis I managed, and we would sampled them out all the time.
Until there was no more samples.
Yeah, we were sampling those all the time
Yeah.
to make sure everyone liked them. It's just amazing. Yeah, we could really do a good pairing. You give people a good pairing, and suddenly they fall in love. You know, here you got this lady from Vertex that's been a wine drinker her whole life, and now she's set on Inversion IPA as like her
Nice.
favorite beer.
Nice.
You know, Deschutes Brewery's coming up, right?
Well, I mean, they've been around for 25 years now. Actually, 2013 was their 25th anniversary. They
Deschutes
did
Brewery, wow.
they did a couple of collaboration beers. They called it Class of '88 series. They did with other breweries that started in 1988 as well. Every Deschutes beer I've had is amazing. I mean, this, you know, Dissident, Black Butte and Black Butte Anniversary
Yeah,
series.
and we talked about that too, how there's not a lot of breweries we drink the core line.
Yeah.
There's a lot of breweries that we drink all the specialty releases,
Right.
but we really don't talk about the core lines all that much. Deschutes Brewery, I mean, their core line's pretty solid. You know,
Oh,
the
definitely.
Beer Pond, you know, Inversion,
Black Butte Porter.
Black Butte,
Yeah.
Obsidian Stout, solid.
Obsidian
The
Stout.
first homebrew I ever did, right, Obsidian Stout, love that beer. The first homebrew I ever did was a clone of the Northwestern Pale Ale Red Cherry.
Oh.
And it blew up in our refrigerator. I remember Michelle calling me saying, just wanted to let you know the refrigerator's leaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not a good sign, don't open it. And, and I had this little percolator on there, you know, and I learned later to use a thumper hose, but it like blew the light out, you know. And we lost about 1.5 gallons of like 5.5 gallons of beer.
Oh.
But it turned out to be the most amazing beer ever,
Oh, awesome.
which it was an unrepeatable beer because you would have to create the explosion. Right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we called it explosive IPA. We enjoyed it, and then it was gone. That was it.
Make it explode again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was too messy. I'm telling you, man. You understand why they call them barflies after that, man. I got to my garage, it was just like zzz, they were just like all around my refrigerator. It was quite the
Wow.
scene to clean that one up.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado, there's some, you know, we get a lot. We already get a lot of good beers from Colorado.
Yes,
we
we
get
do.
Oscar Blues and you know, New Belgium.
We love
And,
Oscar Blues.
And there's a lot of new breweries popping up all the time.
Mhm.
I'm just,
That's a scary thing. It's at a really rapid rate right now.
well, the home brewers are the driving force.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
they have been from the beginning.
They
I mean,
have.
they were all home brewers at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and
But even more so.
I can name 5, 6 guys right now, including myself at some point, that thought my beer was super amazing. And then one of the things that stopped me from home brewing was that I realized that, with all due respect to myself, I brewed pretty good beer, and I nailed a couple, but I could walk into the store and buy 10 kinds of beer that were just so good.
Yeah.
And I could have a different beer every night. When I brewed beer, I had 52 bottles of beer I had to go through, and if it was just okay, then I had to give a lot of it away or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's really what stopped me, is that I stopped and said, I want diversity. I don't want to make 52 bottles of beer. I want to have 6 kinds of beer. I don't want to have like 12 of each of them in my fridge. You know, and like this gentleman, he's a bomber guy. He buys bombers, and he likes different beer every time he drinks, and that's a great thing. To me and him, that's the best thing, is to have each beer we drink all night a different beer.
Well, and there's the most breweries ever in the United States now,
Right.
and so it's just such an amazing thing to go in and go, wow, here's another brewery I've never seen before. Here's another new beer from this brewery I've never seen before.
You know, one of the articles I just shared was on the fear of a hop shortage that's coming.
Yeah.
They feel that the craft beer industry is outgrowing the hop industry, and that's kind of a scary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to change some things for some people.
Well, and I
because-
think distribution will have something to do with that too, because of the hops in Europe and how that's going to play out. And,
Right. People are going to have to rewrite some recipes.
yeah,
They're not going to be able to get what they want.
yeah. Or start growing their own. I mean, I for a while
Yeah.
there, I was actually going to start a hop farm.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And
That
then
doesn't sound like such a bad idea.
No, I
Yeah.
know. And, well, then I
I'm down.
realized it was in Big Bear, and the plate it was way too windy. It wouldn't have worked out. They would have gone like the first week. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of places where you can, it's extremely lucrative and beautiful.
But it's one of the things they talked about, was that how the hop industry is trying to keep pace with the craft beer industry, but that every time the hop industry jumps forward, the craft industry just jumps twice as far. the craft beer industry goes, oh, there's more than enough supplies.
Well,
Let's get in there.
Yeah.
And then
home brewing's legal in every state now.
Yeah.
they can Jimmy
So
Carter.
the number of home brewers that are out there has just jumped, and they're the ones starting the craft
That
breweries.
was the incubation process. That, for the majority of beer's life, that we knew it in America, beer was influenced by foreign entities. So we in the United States tried to brew or tried to create what we had tried abroad, what we'd had in our homelands or whatever, we tried to bring that home. And then we had Prohibition, and on the other side of that, I believe it's Jimmy Carter, right?
Yeah.
Love that man.
Signed that law. And that started that incubation process. And then Maytag with Anchor Steam, and then Sierra Nevada,
Pizza.
and Pete's Wicked,
Stone.
and
Stone.
all these home brewers went out there and said, you know what? My friends think it's awesome. I think everyone's going to think it's awesome. And Oscar Blues, Dale's Pale Ale. He'll straight tell you. Dogfish Head. He released Pumpkin Ale. It was his first beer.
Yep.
It was released at a pumpkin chunking contest.
Really?
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to go to a pumpkin chunking contest? Watching drunk people chunk pumpkins
Yeah.
with foreign weapons.
Yeah, I've
just-
seen that on
you
TV,
know.
man. Those things are crazy.
I would totally be down with that.
And catapults and trebuchets.
Using
and all
siege
this crazy
weapons
shit.
to throw pumpkins as far as you can while we drink beer.
Yeah,
I'd be down with that.
yeah.
That sounds like fun to me.
Probably dislocate my shoulder. But that's another story.
We would have fun. Well, it's been a good shoot. I appreciate you guys being here. Super appreciate you joining us and sharing your stories with us.
Absolutely.
We've had some amazing beers.
Yeah, we're right.
This one is the most eclectic of the night by far.
I'm glad we ended with this. actually.
Certainly interesting.
Yeah, it's a good warmer. In the
Definitely.
meantime, cheers.
Cheers.
Beer culture. And we're going to see you on the next episode.